Twitter is looking to integrate Bitcoin payments via its tip jar feature. So apparently, a little code sleuther went through Twitter beta and found out that Twitter is integrating Strike, Blue Wallet, and the wallet of Satoshi. Right now, this is not in production, and it may not even be available for beta users quite yet. From the AML side, it's interesting to note that Twitter won't really be interacting with like the payment side of this. It'll be going through like these other providers, and they would probably have to make like the considerations about how to report that money moving around. So basically, this would be like a tip feature for Twitter, which is really interesting. They're also looking at launching a new set of emoji reactions along with this, which of course is fantastic. But Jen, you're a big Twitter.
Way to just pin that tail on the donkey there. You were like,
I know.
Also emojis, which I love more.
Emojis.
It's probably like the bigger story here, but we have to focus on Bitcoin, right? So, well. But Jen, you're a prolific tweeter. I'd send you some Bitcoin. What's your reaction?
I'm not
to
a
this?
prolific tweeter, but when this feature rolls out, I will be waiting for my tip in Bitcoin. So, I love the part of the story that said that they're going to be giving tutorials as a part of the rollout of this tipping feature. So they're going to be giving tutorials in Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, I can't speak English today. The Lightning Network and custodial versus non-custodial wallets. Yeah, I'm just speaking Canadian. And so I think that's really cool that they're going to be giving tutorials while they roll this feature out. It reminded me of when you get your driver's license, where you do like the written test and then you can move on to the drive it, like the next phase of the license. And I thought, regulators and politicians are always saying, nobody understands, everyone is at risk. And what a great way to address it by offering this educational material that you watch beforehand. And then you can just start tipping people on Twitter. I would tip all of you, except maybe Ben.
I will take.
Sorry.
I was just going to say,
got ratioed really bad yesterday.
Oh my gosh, we don't even need to get into that. Nobody loved, after Mr. Foxley here was talking about Syndicate tweeting in Morse code, I started tweeting in Morse code, and it got, just test the engagement levels, got 0 likes, 4 comments.
I liked
and
it.
Will was one of those comments. I know Naomi and Jen came and saved me.
Wait, we don't count?
Well, it can't. No. I was going to say prior to that, Will was like, "You can't get ratios. You can't divide 0. All right, like it's fine." Anyway,
guys,
if you want to hear what Will's Twitter voice is, that's what it is.
Ben's greatest Twitter moments. But I want to talk about this Twitter payment feature, which I think is very, very interesting. I mean, this is cool. If they integrate this natively, like you've been able to tip people on Twitter for a long time through third-party apps. There have been all kinds of different tipping bots that have functioned on the website. You also have like Brave integrations, so you can tweet people, tip people using BAT, which has been really cool. I sometimes get some stuff thrown my way. And they're integrated on a bunch of different websites. But now that Twitter is integrating this natively, I mean, that's a huge step. I think that that's really exciting. And it seems that they're using Strike underneath it. Is that right, Will?
Strike, Wallet of Satoshi, and Blue Wallet is what they're looking at integrating right now, which Strike is probably the most
sense too.
Like fintech-ish kind of wallet of those 3. Blue Wallet and Wallet Satoshi are very much so Bitcoin first wallets. Strike is kind of like an almost option between Cash App and Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to use this? You're going to start tipping people? Because I know, Will, you don't like to use your crypto for anything.
No, I hold my Bitcoin.
You already said he's going to tip me. No. Will, how
Jen.
can you just say you're going to tip me and then retract? Yeah.
I'll tip Jen only. It is just like one final thought on my side is like Jack Dorsey integrating this it's a pretty big deal for his application. From my understanding, he doesn't have a majority share of Twitter stock, and as a CEO, that kind of influences like your ability to make decisions sometimes. But he's forging ahead with these Bitcoin plans. Regardless, he really wants to see this become a part of the Twitter platform and the Twitter experience, and that follows after so many people in the cryptocurrency space dogging him for not integrating payment options for other types of cryptocurrencies, like notably Ethereum, which there's like pretty simple ways to integrate Ethereum, but he's like Bitcoin only. So interesting to see like the intersection of Bitcoin maximalism and the corporate world on stage here with like this code rollout.
I mean, this makes too much sense, like in a lot of different ways. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised we didn't get here quicker. When we first heard about like potential tipping on Twitter, we were wondering, is there going to be is there going to be like a crypto element to this? And obviously, like Jack was personally boosting and like integrated like tippin.me when that was a thing, like into his own profile and stuff. So he's been really interested in this for a long time, particularly with his, conversations around, for example, doing like a Bitcoin DEX and stuff like that. I'd be really surprised if this doesn't happen, because it feels like all the stars are aligning for this to have been the case, just based on his background, previous products, and also this being a feature on Twitter more generally.
Yeah, and I could use Will as a case example here, because although I'm really personally very excited as someone who uses crypto, it's interesting we have this narrative around Bitcoin where people are like, don't ever spend it, just hold it, keep it forever, diamond hands, all of that. And people are now thinking that just because we move this to layer 2, suddenly people are going to want to start using their crypto. They're going to want to start spending it and giving it to people. Like, it's this disjunctive narrative. The type of people who are using Lightning Network, they're generally, Bitcoin maximalists. They're people who have Bitcoin at the forefront of their crypto sphere. And, I'm just not seeing that transition happening. I'm not seeing people going from saying like, this is something that we hold, to suddenly like, I'm going to spend this. And I don't see how we're going to make that shift. I know that lots of Lightning teams are trying to make that shift. They're trying to get people away from this only hold narrative, like, or if you spend it, spend and replace, or, just convert everything to crypto, just live entirely in the crypto narrative. But we haven't seen that transition in the Bitcoin camp yet. So I'm wondering whether something like this will help it, or whether this will just flop and no one will use it. But we will see.